Good evening, everybody. Everybody is very welcome here this evening. Greet you in the name of Jesus. And most of you probably didn't know that we would have a guest speaker today. I have asked Inspector Howard Kaler from the Taber Police Department to talk to us for a little bit, just explaining things, how things are and how they work. They want to work with us, and all these things that we a lot of times I think we don't quite understand how they work, and he was more than happy to come and talk to us about that. So we really appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much, and I will give it over to you now.
Thank you, Pastor Elias. And I just want to say that having the opportunity this evening to come and speak to you is very special to me. My name is Howard Kaler. And I don't know if any of you know me, and I'm just going to take my mask off for a second so you can see my face. I want to share a little bit about my background. I'm 56 years old. I've lived in this community for 24 years. I've been a police officer in this community for 24 years. I'm married. I've been married for 32 years. I have one son. His name is Jackson, and he's 26, and he lives in Calgary. I grew up in southern Manitoba, near Winkler, Manitoba. My ancestors, my great-grandfather, Isaac Kaler, was one of the first settlers in Winkler, Manitoba. If any of you know where Winkler is, or you have been to Winkler, where the old Bethel Hospital used to be in downtown Winkler, there's a beautiful park there now with a monument on it that has my great-grandfather's name on it. I am very proud to call myself a Mennonite. I can't speak the language, and I'm very saddened about that. My grandmother, my mother, all my aunts and uncles spoke Low German, but my biological father was not a Mennonite, and so there was some friction every time we would get together where my biological father couldn't understand what my grandma and my mom were saying. So along the way, that was lost. And for me, that makes me sad. Every one of you in this building has a gift. And the gift is that most of you can speak 2 languages. I cannot. And you need to be very proud of that. Approximately 10 years ago, we had a fairly large influx of Low German Mennonite-speaking people that came to our community. When I heard that the Mennonite people were moving up from Mexico to get away from that part of the world to come here, I was quite excited. Not everybody was as excited as me, because I understood what it meant to be a Mennonite. Many people in this area didn't. There were a few people that were Mennonites, but not all. And I want to share a story with you. My position in the police department right now is I'm a boss. I'm a supervisor. I'm second in charge of the police department. I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations of the police service. Back then I wasn't. I was the lonely constable that took the calls on the street. And I got a call one day that there was a disturbance at the Subway restaurant downtown, and I think most of you probably know where that is. There was an argument going on between a young man and an elderly gentleman. And the young man was swearing and cussing and causing a disturbance and was leaving on a bicycle. As I drove to the call, lo and behold, I came across the individual, because it wasn't very busy downtown, who was on the bicycle. I knew who he was. And I stopped and I said, "Did you just have an argument with a fellow at the Subway?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Could you do me a favor? Would you go to the police station? I'll meet you there." I pulled up in front of the subway and there was a van parked there. And there was a lady in the van and some children. And I soon recognized that the lady in the van was a Mennonite lady by her traditional dress, by her head covering and her traditional dress. I went inside and there was an elderly gentleman there, well, middle-aged gentleman, because I was quite a bit younger back then, who was quite distraught. And I said, "What happened?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I pulled up with my van. I went in to get my family something to eat. And this young guy on the sidewalk in his bicycle started swearing at me." And I won't use the language that he used because it's not appropriate. But he referred to that individual as a swear word, Mennonite. I was hurt. I asked that man, I said, "Would you be willing to come to the police station?" He said, "Yeah," because I knew the fellow on the bike had already gone to the police station. So I went back to the police station. I asked the gentleman if he would sit in the lobby while I went to talk to the young fella. And I walked in the door and I sat him down and I said, "What happened?" And he told me. I said, "Why were you being so disrespectful to that man?" Because I hate Mennonites. My blood started to boil, but I knew that I had to win this young man over because we as a community needed to embrace the Mennonite culture, the Mennonite people, because they were coming to our community and they are good people. So I said to this young man, I said, "What's your issue?" "I just don't like swear word Mennonites." I said, "You don't even know who you're talking to, do you?" And he said, "No." I said, "What if I told you that I'm one of those," and I used the swear word, Mennonites? His jaw literally hit the floor because he did not know who he was speaking to. And he did not realize how deep that knife cut when he disrespected that gentleman at Subway and the effect that it had on me. We came together, we had conversation, I expressed how I felt. We came to an agreement that that young fella kind of understood, I think, that it was inappropriate, his behavior. I told him what the law said, because you cannot stand on the street and swear at people. It's against the law. I said that I could have arrested him, I could have charged him, but I wasn't going to. Because I felt that it was a time that I could educate one more person in our community about the Mennonite culture. So why am I here today? Well, first off, I'm here because it's important that we all work together as a community to try and live at this particular time in our life, because this is not normal. You have no idea, and maybe Pastor Elias can speak to this, what it looks like standing here to see all of you individuals sitting there wearing a mask. It breaks my heart. But there are people that are much smarter than us, the scientists of the world, the scientists of our province, that have said, if we wear masks, we can help with the problem that's going on. If we sanitize our hands, we can help. When I walked in here today, my first response for Pastor Elias was to shake his hand, because that's what we do. And I said to him, "Oh, we can't do that no more." But we will one day, if we all work together. I don't like wearing this mask. I don't like not shaking your pastor's hands. I was given an opportunity a week ago, to have a conference call with Pastor Elias, Jake Thiessen, and Corny Peters to talk about what was going on in the world. It's funny. I have an Uncle Jake. I have a cousin John. My mom was a Mary. My grandma was a Helena. Those are all good Mennonite names. So I had that chance to have that conversation. And what I shared with Pastor Elias and the other gentleman was, this is not normal. This is not comfortable. But if we all do our part, hopefully this will go away. Some of us have some misconceptions that this isn't real, that this is just a hoax, that maybe the government's trying to take control of us, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I can change the minds of those individuals, but at the end of the day, our hospitals, and I'm not talking about Lethbridge or Tabor yet, the hospitals in Calgary and Edmonton are bursting at the seams. It's not only about COVID, it's about everybody else as well. We are still having people that are having heart attacks. We are still having people that are having strokes, having babies. They all need to go to the hospital. When you are seriously sick or injured, you might not even stop at the Tabor Hospital. You might go straight to Calgary, or you might go to Lethbridge and then to Calgary. Our most serious people who are injured or sick go to Calgary, some go to Edmonton. That's why those hospitals are bursting at the seams. I know a lady who currently, believe it or not, she commutes from Tabor to Edmonton as a nurse. She works in the hospital where they do all the lung transplants and the heart transplants. Her daughter also works in that hospital. She has told me that those hospitals are bursting at the seams. She has told me that in the very near future, they are going to start moving people who are in the critical care ICU to our rural hospitals. Maybe not Tabor, but Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Red Deer, those kind of things. When those hospitals are full and somebody has a serious heart attack and needs to go to the hospital, I certainly wouldn't want to be the doctor who has to decide who gets critical care and who doesn't. That's really what this is about. This is not about how many people are dying, because people die every day. We are dying every day, aren't we? Every day is one less day we'll have on earth. Hopefully we live a long time. This is not about how many cases we have, because we have lots, and we've heard it on the news, tons. This is about trying to control the spread so we don't totally overrun our healthcare system. There's many people that would disagree with me, but that is my opinion. What I'm concerned about also is, I've done some good work with your pastor here. Again, this is not the norm. Sitting with only with your family. Can't sit next. I have to sit there. I would rather sit beside him and have a conversation, but I can't. It's not the norm. Wearing the mask, all this stuff isn't the norm. Even the number of people in this particular church have been reduced by law. So when I had that conversation, we worked very hard, and you guys worked extremely hard to make this happen, because this is not the norm. I only live a few blocks away from here. We were on the phone with the Alberta Health Services people, and they said we need to work with the churches, all of them, particularly yours, to try and get the numbers down. You guys have done it. You have made it work. It's not ideal, but you have made it work. When I walked in here tonight, I can see what you've done. And I know you didn't just do it for me. I know you didn't do it for me, because I know the health inspector was here last Sunday and you did it then as well. So you didn't do it just for me. One of the things that I've heard about is protests. We're going to protest about our rights and our freedoms in Canada. For any of you, and you can stop me at any time if I'm wrong. Please do. For any of you who moved from Mexico to Canada, I think Some of the reasons were because maybe there was more to offer here, better jobs, a better healthcare system maybe, less crime, those kind of things. You came here because there's opportunity. That opportunity has changed somewhat. But within certain guidelines, as long as we work within those guidelines, that opportunity is still there. These protests that have happened, that potentially could happen, I'll tell you what one of my major concerns is, and I told Pastor Elias this on the phone. As much as when the Mennonite people first kind of came to this community, and as much as that young man totally disrespected that Mennonite fella in front of his family, there are people out there, unfortunately, that are waiting to say, I told you so. I told you those Mennonite people weren't good people. I told you they wouldn't abide by the rules. I told you that they're criminals. I told you that they're drug dealers. They're waiting to be able to say that. And if we, as the people of the Mennonite group in our area, participate in those type of protests, they are going to say, I told you they wouldn't abide by the rules. I promise you that. The very first day that the health inspector came into your facility, I think it was 2 Sundays ago. I don't even know if Pastor Elias knew this. The media were here. Why were they here? So I can say, I told you so. What happened in Steinbach, Manitoba? I have cousins who live in Steinbach, Manitoba. When that stuff was on the TV, all I could hope for was that my cousins weren't in that rally. What happened in Elmer, Ontario? I have cousins in Elmer, Ontario. My grandmother was the oldest of 21 children. They're spread all over the country. Those stories were not about the protest. It was a Mennonite issue. Has anybody in this building ever been to Steinbach, Manitoba? I have. I remember it very clearly as a young man going there to visit my Aunt Kate Friesen. I knew when I saw that story that it was going to become about the culture. It was going to become about the religion. We don't have to necessarily agree with the rules. We just have to abide by them. I don't want people in our Mennonite community to become part of those group of individuals that want to protest because you will not control the story. You cannot control what is going to go on the news. You cannot control what is going to get written. And as much as we might have some good information or how we feel about the situation, it will get twisted. And I don't want it to get twisted. I don't want this to become or go where I think it will go. So for me, I'm very proud and I'm very happy to see that not only you, because the health inspectors, I police a little town. There's other churches, you guys know where they are, out in the outlying area. They've been to a lot of them, and I don't have control, or I don't have the opportunity to go speak to those people. But what happens in our community is important to me, and it's important to the police. One of the things that we're working on as a police service right now is we have a position for a police officer. If I can find a young, low German-speaking Mennonite fella that can pass all the tests, that's who I want to hire. That's how important it is to me. That's how important it is to the community. We just did a 5-year community survey, and it came out in that survey that we needed to broaden our cultural diversity within the police service. We have identified that one of the most important areas, is to have somebody of this culture, faith, speaks the language, because I can't, as part of our police service. I have been fortunate enough to hire over the last couple summers our bylaw positions. I've hired a Gunther girl, a Clausen, I don't want to lie to you, and one more Mennonite fella, purposely because you bring good things to the community. Not just to the service, but to the community. And so I just hope that what I have shared with you today, I shared my background simply because that way at least you understand I'm not just Joe Blow on the street who's a policeman who carries a big stick and a gun who just throws people in jail. I didn't even bring my gun tonight because I don't need it here. So, it's important for me to share these words. I've given Pastor Elias my card, my cell phone number, and if there's anything that I can do, when he called me the other day and said, "Howard, would you come?" I said, "Absolutely." It's a Friday night at 7:30. I never work at 7:30 at night unless I get called out because something's going bad. But I ran to Lethbridge after work, made sure I was home, put my uniform on, and I'm here. And I'm here for you. I'm here to make this community better. I'll fly a flag as high as I possibly can to support the Mennonite community, the people of the Mennonite community in this community, because I know that you are hardworking people. We are hardworking people. We want to provide for our families. We want to abide by the rules, whether we agree with them or not. I know we do. And I know where this is going to go. I had the opportunity a few years ago of sitting in a meeting with the Minister of Education. And one of the things that we were talking about was trying to get more and more Mennonite children to stay longer in school. And as the conversation was going on, I went to my phone, and I took my phone out, and I Googled City of Winkler Town Council. And I don't know, there was 8 of them or whatever. And all but one had a Mennonite last name. Everything from Giesbrecht to Thiessen, to Friesen, and I said to the Minister of Education, I said, this is the future of our community. This is good. I built a house 2 years ago. My framer, my drywaller, my eave troffer, all my concrete work, we're done with individuals that have a Mennonite last name. I'm very proud of that. Because we are good people. We make mistakes, just like everybody else. The police department deals with 5% of the population. Think about this for a second. 5% of the population, 95% of the time. Does that make sense? So if you have 100 people, we deal with the same 5 people 95% of the time, most of the time. Because everybody else is good law-abiding citizens. It's no different than here. We all make mistakes. I've gotten speeding tickets. I've gotten pulled over. I've had my heart flutter when the red and blue lights are behind me, and I'm a policeman. We all make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, as long as we learn from those mistakes. That's the most important thing. I'm no different than any one of you. I actually thought about coming tonight in my plain clothes. Because sometimes what happens is the barrier goes up right away as soon as you see the uniform. Because even for me, if I was speeding and the policeman pulls me over, my heart starts going a little bit funny. It's just a natural reaction. We're people. It's not it's not the uniform. It's what's behind the uniform that's important. And we have worked very hard, I would suggest, as a police service, to understand, and not only the Mennonite people. We have a quite large Filipino group of people in town. We have indigenous people in town. We worked very hard to work with everybody, and we want to make this a safe community. I would love to be able to take this mask off today. We can't, but we will soon. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow to say. Hopefully this vaccine that's kind of come out is going to have some positive things on it, and I know there's controversy about that. But I can tell you right now, I have a cousin who's 5 years older than me who has polio. Has a whittled up little leg, and I remember it as a little kid. If he'd have got the vaccine, it would have never happened. So I just think we, as Mennonites in this community, we have a lot to offer. We just have to be proud of who we are. We have to be proud of the fact, like I said, I don't, but you guys do speak 2 languages. That's something we want. We have to be proud that we are hard-working people. We have to be proud that we love our families. Look at this gentleman in the front row holding his young son. He loves his son to death, and so do I love mine. And we have to show the world that we are going to do the right thing. Because if we don't do the right thing, as I said, we will show the world, and not just Tabor, Alberta. We will show the world, because we don't have control as to where the information goes, especially in this day and age. I mean, I came in here, stood at the back, and I cannot believe the technology you have in this building. That technology, I think most of us have a cell phone. It's in our pocket. I don't know what I did with mine, but it's somewhere around here. In a split second, you can take my picture, put it on Facebook, and depending on what you put in as a caption or what you write on there, there'll be good comments, bad comments, there'll be everything under the sun. And it can go around the world. So as I said, we need to do the right thing. And let's control what we can control. And what we can control right now is our actions and our behavior. And we can control what message we send to everybody else. And if I can help with that, I certainly will. I want to thank each of you for taking the time to listen to me. I'm a little bit long-winded, and I know that. And that's what I told Pastor Elias. But I'm very passionate about this. I'm very, very passionate about this. And one day, hopefully, in the near future, I've never been in this building before. I want to come back again. And I want to sit in this church with your approval and learn more about my heritage and my background. Because I think I can learn something from you as well. I want to just, if it's okay with you, is there any questions? Anybody got anything they want to ask me? I'm not shy. And please don't be shy. If there's anything that I can help with. Thank you again. You don't have to agree with me, but please think about what I had to say. We can do this together. We'll get through this together. We will one day be able to take these masks off. Thank you.